Hi everybody, drawninjakc here, and today I'm going to draw a portrait of my beloved cousin, and she has been after me to do this portrait for ages, but I've been so busy I hadn't actually gotten around to it. But today I'm going to make an exception and just devote some time to doing her portrait. And as I'm doing that, at the same time I felt it was an opportunity to teach you guys some of my tricks of the trade and give you some insight into why I do what I do in regards to doing some portraits. I'm going to be using acrylics, and I know you guys never really see me use acrylics before, but I'm going to be using acrylics for this particular portrait. And so, but just not just any acrylics. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so here we are. This is acrylic gouache. This is white, and this is black. Now these are the more expensive acrylics, right? I think I paid like $9, $10 for each one of these. Right, but these acrylics, which is the majority of what I'll be using, are from Artist Loft, and I got 12 in a pack for $4. Okay, so all right. I know that that means that of course there is a certain degree of quality that I can expect from them, and it's true. They're not as pigmented as the more expensive acrylics, but also that's something that I can use to my advantage. Now, anything that you have as an art medium, the shortcomings of that art medium you can use to your advantage. Okay, and that's what this video is basically about today. Is just I'm going to be using these acrylic paints, but I'm going to be using their weaknesses to my advantage. Okay, so they're not pigmented, they're not as opaque as the high quality acrylic paints, but I will be using that to my advantage. Okay, now I'll also be using these really cool things I discovered. There's so many things still left to be discovered. These are acrylic markers. Acrylic markers. Now I'm just using them, honestly, I'm just using them in this video just so I can have an opportunity to use them. But they work as well as like those paint markers from Unipasco. And they're very opaque, so I just want to kind of try them out. So I'm gonna find some way to fit them into this whole deal. But my other somewhat more expensive purchase is this gesso. And one of the more important things about the gesso, it's not white, and I'm going to be using it on the illustration board. And I know most people use gessos on canvas to smooth them out, so on and so forth. When I do paintings or portraits with acrylics that are low in pigment or not as pigmented, I do what I did here, which is I add some black into the gesso, making it gray. I don't know if you guys can see it, the light is really dark, but it's a little gray, right? It's not white, it's a little gray. And so what happens is that once I put it on the illustration board, of course, it creates toned paper or toned illustration board. So what toned illustration boards do when you're using low pigmented acrylic paints is that it fills in the pigment. Like, the gray kind of helps the paint pop more because it fills in a lot of the color that's not there. So that's one of the great reasons for me gessoing my illustration boards. Another reason is, of course, if I make a mistake, I can just gesso it and recreate it or correct it. All right, so now we have the most inexpensive set of acrylics I've ever bought, and we're going to find out if I'm a phony today, because if I can't make a masterpiece with these inexpensive acrylics, then I'm really not worth my weight in paint. Okay, so believe it or not, you don't need expensive art materials to make great art. Okay, it's not about the materials, although the materials are nice and they do help along a certain quality. But if you can figure out ways and tips and tricks to make your art great on a budget, then you're good to go. Because then you realize it's not about the medium. It's not about how expensive the medium is. It's about how creative the artist is. Okay, so let's get creative and find a way to turn $4 acrylic paints into a masterpiece. I start off by spreading a large sheet of trace paper over my desk so I don't get paint on it. Now here's a tip. Wet the back of the illustration board with water before you gesso the front. This way that when it dries, the front and the back basically shrink together. So you don't have the front folding inward because of the moisture of the gesso. I usually put one coat, wait till it dries, then put another coat of gesso on there. After it dries, I'm ready for action. Now, for the sake of time, I'm going to transfer this using a bit of magic so that we don't have to waste much more time. There we go. All right, now this is transferred, not all the detail gets transferred. So you go in with a pencil and you basically use the source material for detail. Just put in as much detail with the shadows, with the lines as you possibly can. You want to get really detailed with this. You're not, it's as if you're drawing the picture with the pencil, okay? This is a very important step to working with translucent paint that, like, when you put it down you can see right through it, which is what I'm dealing with here with the acrylics because of I guess the quality of it, and it's not that pigmented. And for me personally, I prefer when paint is not that pigmented. This way it's easier for me to water it down, because I like to work in layers when it comes to paint, because it gives me more control over the shadowing and the highlights. So these cheap paints are perfect for me. But I go in and I do put a lot of detail on my cousin's face, everything that was in my picture, get that drawn up, and then I tape it down to prevent more warping and also to create a border. So I mixed a skin tone and I go in, and as you see, when you put down the skin tone, you can see all the details that you drew with the pencil through the skin tone, because it goes down very light. I really didn't even have to dilute this very much because it was already not very pigmented. As you can see, based on the pencils underneath, just laying down the skin tone gives the drawing an almost completed look. Now I'm going to go in with the hair, because she has nice long black hair, and try to make this as interesting as the face. There's nothing going on with the hair in terms of me doing it with the pencil, so the hair had to be done with the paint. And as you can see, it's black paint, but there's still, patches where you can see through it. And as far as the black paint goes for the hair, I don't want that too translucent. I don't want that translucent at all. I want that to go down black, because I can easily just put on the highlights with like a color pencil or white paint. After the first layer of skin tone dries, I go in with a darker level of skin tone for the shadows on the face. Two things that you've already done helps this. First, the pencil that you laid down, and secondly, the fact that you toned the board with a gray gesso. So where the shadow might have been just a lighter pigment where you'd have to go in a couple times, you probably just have to go in with it once, with the shadow once, and that would be enough, because you've already laid down the pencils, which helps with the shadow, and also the gray gesso. Right here I'm going in with deeper shadows that are on her face, and just using a brush to smooth it out a bit, smooth out the highlighted areas, because not a wet brush, just like a dry brush with a bit of white paint on it, just to smooth out the grainy look that her face has at this point. Doing some more blending with the white paint, making her face a little smoother. Little dab of white paint on a dry brush would do the trick. And here is where I go in with the color pencil to provide strands of hair to her eyebrows and to her hairline to make it look more authentic. And of course, that was my little use of the acrylic markers. Acrylic markers for her eye right there. Now the acrylic markers, they go on thick, so you need like a brush to kind of spread them around. But for little things like the eyes and things like that, I don't really recommend the acrylic markers, because they do go on and then they kind of spread a little bit. But they might be good for hair strands and things like that, but not for fine detail, because they go on wet and they stay wet for a while, which works for me because that's what I want. Hair, you know, I want it to go on wet, so this way I can control how much I put on there, and then I'm able to take a brush and then go in and embellish it and use it the way I want to use it. So that worked out really well for me. Here I'm providing highlights around the eyes with more color pencil, and touching up other parts of her face and around her shoulders and her hands there with the white color pencil as well, providing some more highlights. At this point, I want to work more on the shadows, and so I go in with a brown color pencil to provide subtle shadows around the face, and where need be, just the heavier shadows. And now I'm taking a black color pencil to embellish the hair a little bit, and maybe add the blending into the shadow at the side of her face. And the white color pencil provides the highlights in her hair. And I go in on the straps on her clothes, do a little bit of the background here, whiten that pillow because the pillow is gray from the gesso. Then finally using an ultra fine acrylic marker to create strands of hair. And there she is, my beautiful cousin. I hope you guys enjoyed watching that video, and I hope you guys did learn a lot from watching this video. One of the things that I wanted to also mention is that you saw me mixing paint or painting from a tray that I used in the beginning to show the art supplies in, and this is it right here. And no, it's not a pot to piss in. It is called a butcher's tray, and if you're using acrylics or paints of any sorts, this is the thing to get. This is like the best place to mix your paints because it has easy cleanup. So if you're mixing acrylic and the acrylic dries on there, you can just easily just peel the acrylic right off of the surface. It's really excellent, as opposed to like plastic, where try getting acrylic off of that. It's crazy. So I've used this a few times, and you can see it has like nothing of the paint on there. So that's one of the things I recommend anybody using paint that they get, because it is awesome. It is, just in case you didn't know about this. Okay? And if you are getting one that has blemishes and things like that, that's exactly what they look like. It has a kind of like a nostalgic feel to it. So if you get one that has blemishes on the paint and stuff, don't get freaked out like it's not imperfect. Imperfections is perfection on this thing, okay? So if you are new to my channel, please subscribe, please like the video, please share the video, so that I can continue to bring you these really awesome tutorials on how to paint, how to do this in art, how to do that in art. And if you don't know, or if you already know, just watch it because you want to see me. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for all your support. And as usual, this is drawninjakc saying, I'll see you next time. Wow!